Title belts to Hall of Fame. Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Jazz kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Last week's Q&A podcast was so popular, we decided to have a part 2 this week, finish up some of these questions you guys sent in, because Doug and Tommy are on the road, and they said they've got plenty of time to answer some of the listeners' questions. So, guys, that's what we're going to do. Are you ready?
Hey, Gene, did you think we answered everything pretty well last week or last week?
Yeah. I thought there were some really good answers, and I thought there were some really good questions.
I got you. Good deal. All right. Well, listen, throw them at us, and we'll see what we can do for you.
All right, this one's for both of you. This is from Dan Deppinett from the Dangerous Conversations Facebook. He asks, for Doug and Tommy both, is there anyone during your career that you wished you would have gotten a chance to be in the ring with, but for whatever reason just never got a chance to?
I don't know. That's a hard question. But shit, between Tennessee and Atlanta, Georgia, I mean, we wrestled the best of the best. I mean, just top of my head. I mean, you figure. I mean, I really can't think of nobody. I mean, I teamed up with some of the best around the country, and I wrestled some of the best around the country. You know, I just top of my head, no, sir, I can't.
And you know what? I guess, Gene, I would have to say, you know, it's different time periods and who I would have had a chance to wrestle. I think I pretty much got to wrestle mostly. I would have loved to have been able to start it a few years earlier and been able to have the chance to wrestle like a Nick Bockwinkel, but that's like stuff, you know, that would have been out of my control and everything, but like some of the guys that I thought was so smooth and cool, and I didn't get to wrestle. I would have loved to have wrestled Kurt Hennig.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And I didn't get that opportunity, but I was just breaking in before Kurt went to New York.
Right, that's a great one. Yeah, absolutely. Tommy, I kind of figured you might have a tough time because, folks, if you don't know, go back and look through the results on cagematch.net and look through. You'll be hard pressed to find anybody Tommy didn't wrestle, and especially somebody he wanted to that he didn't get to.
Right, that's what I was fixing to tell you. I think Tommy wrestled everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And I don't...
If I did get wrestled, I probably didn't want to.
Exactly.
But I mean, the good thing is Tommy wrestled all of them and drew money with everybody you work with. So that's a great thing, that, you know, accomplishment that can't many people say.
So
I was trying to think, Gene, and there's got to be other, like I said, Kurt Hennig, because I love Kurt, and Kurt was a great worker. But I was trying to think, I know there's got to be 3 or 4 other guys that I would have loved to work with, didn't, but just right off the top of my head right now, I can't think of.
That makes sense. Kurt Hennig is a great answer. He just seemed like one of the smoothest guys in the ring.
Kurt lived up to his gimmick. Kurt was cool. Kurt was cool. And he was also Mr. Perfect. I mean, Kurt was a smooth, cool dude. I mean, he was a good guy. If he was your friend, you didn't have a better friend.
Oh yeah, he was fun to be around.
Yeah.
Was never a dull moment with him.
And if he didn't like you, you sure knew it.
I say there's some pretty famous stories of some people who didn't think it was cool to be around Kurt Hennig, but I guess most of them brought that on themselves,
yeah,
right?
He's a prankster. Yeah, he liked to play them pranks, yeah.
So Tracy Carter asks, and this is for both of you guys, who was your favorite opponent to work with, and what was your favorite territory to work?
God, see, I mean, like, you figure I was in Tennessee, I got to be, of course I started out as a babyface. I went to Georgia, was on top as a babyface there. And like, I had my run there and come back to Tennessee. And, if you want to draw money, Lawler was the king, and he was the babyface, so you had to be a heel. So I'd get to come back and be a heel. So then I went to ECW. So, I mean, all of them, it was all great. I mean,
You know what's funny, Gene, and people wouldn't think I would say this now, as far as the territories, I love, as far as the, I guess I would say my favorite would have been the USWA being here at home and me, as far as the history of the Southern, the South, and the Memphis, the Louisville, the Nashville, and everything. But now as far as the miles, not so much the Watts territory, but I made good money. I started the next day out of high school down there, and when you start there, and I mean you're making great money. I mean you're driving 3,000-4,000 miles a week. That's crazy, but I mean, and you're working twice on Saturday and twice on Sunday, and everything. And there's a ton of miles, but there was great talent. That was, right as Vince was starting to lure everybody away from every territory to get them, up there to him. And now that territory was good. I love Continental. I didn't make the most money that I'd ever made in Continental, but I made a living, and I loved it because you was in Pensacola, you was Panama City Beach, you was in Birmingham, Dothan, Montgomery, and everything. But it was a good territory, and I was trying to think. Let's say, and as far as Tommy said ECW, but he meant ECW, which to me there was both ECW. When me and Eddie went up and started actually ECW, that was cool. Which we only had like 2 or 3 shows per month then, but it was cool. And a couple of us guys, Eddie and a couple more, was under contracts, and we made good. And the good thing for me with that was I would go to Japan usually once or twice a month during those days, so I didn't have to stay up there all the time.
Do either of you have a favorite opponent you like to work with that Tracy asked about?
Well, I would say, it's funny, there was a lot of smooth guys, but I guess myself growing up, I've kind of, I don't know if you'd say idolized or whatever, but I love Terry Funk's work because I've seen all the stuff that he done with Lawler, the stuff he done with everybody else, the stuff he done when he was NWA World Champion, and I loved working with Terry. But now I've been in easier street fights than I have working with Terry. And you know what really was one of the things, and a lot of people like Eddie really loved Terry too, but Eddie's more growing up idolized like Dory. Like my dad and Dory Jr. was best friends, and it was a really pleasure to me to get to work with Dory, and I got to work with him in a couple of tags, and man, that was really, you talking about funny. I was nervous. I was really nervous. I'd been working a lot of years by that point, but just the respect that I had for Dory and everything, and being in the ring. And one of those matches was a tag match with me and my dad against Dory and Buddy Landell. And man, I was just so happy. And like my dad told me when we got done, he said, man, I was so proud of you to see Buddy tag out and Dory tag in and go from Buddy's style to Dory's style. But I mean, that's like some of the guys that really, and like it was really cool. I got to hang out with Harley Race in Philadelphia when I went up and worked for Dennis Corlew a lot. Man, Harley was the consummate professional. I didn't get to work with him. He was managing me and everything, but I got to talk with him and everything. And I always thought, Harley's work was great. And I mean, Harley was one of those guys that, if somebody thought they wanted to mess with him, they was wrong. Yeah.
Tommy, is there anybody you would call a favorite to wrestle?
Oh, it would most definitely have to be Harley Race. I mean, he just, it was just like going out and having, like, it's kind of like dancing. And I got to dance with the best dancer in the business, I thought. I mean, Harley just was always smooth, never a bad word. You know, some messed up, he just flow on through it. I mean, it was always smooth, of course. And I enjoyed wrestling Abdullah the Butcher. I mean, for the kind of match it was, you knew it was going to be a fight. You know, I mean, right. So that's a couple of different styles. Kim Matera, you know, Olympics and everything. First time I wrestled him, I was scared to death. I thought he was going to tie me up in a knot. And went out there and it was as smooth as silk. So we were just very blessed and fortunate. I mean, like Doug had been USWA Tag Team Champion. You know, it was always an honor to team up with Dougie and us go out there because our timing, we knew what was going to happen before it happened, you know.
And too, Gene, I got to go back and say, and I didn't say this, Jerry Lawler, Brian Christopher. I mean, yeah. Tommy had programs with Lawler that drew a ton of money. I had programs with Brian, and I mean, we worked every night like for almost 2 years straight. And I mean, you can see, I mean, you know, you own your other your USWA podcast, you probably went through some of that by now. Oh, but I mean, that was some good stuff, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved Brian. Brian was one of my best friends, and I grew up also watching, like I said, the Bumps and Harley and Lawler, and I mean, and to be able to get to work with some of those guys, you know, I mean, was really cool. And I mean, they was great in the ring. Like I said, now, you know, people won't say like about Terry, but I mean, that was all the older NWA, I mean, champions that you worked with. I mean, you'd been in easier street fights and you had matches with a lot of them. And you know what I asked Lawler one time? I said, well, why is it every time I work with one of them, it's like I've freaking been in a fight? He said, that's a NWA pride thing.
It's because you have.
Right.
Yeah, I was interested to see if you guys had mentioned Lawler, because I feel like, you know, right now you guys could pull over on the side of the highway and have a match with Lawler right now. He could just pull up behind you, and y'all could go out there and have a believable match and convince anybody that was standing out there watching it that you guys hate each other. I don't know, the Gilberts and Lawler, and then Tommy and Lawler, y'all just had such a natural chemistry over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still get. You don't know what Gene you kind of do. I've told you, and you've looked at some of the stuff that people send me and that people send you and everything. But I mean, people ask me, we saw Lawler somewhere and saw you down the road. We thought there was fixing to be a fight right there, but it's just that's, you know, still the perception, which that's a good perception to have. I mean, you know, that shows that I mean, everybody believed in what we did, and that's what I just told somebody a minute ago before we got on this podcast. They was talking about they'd been at a softball tournament with the daughter, and I said, well, who won? They said, we didn't. And I said, you didn't? I said, well, it don't matter. I said, the last true sport's wrestling. That's the only one that's real.
Our next question, this one's for you, Tommy. Wildcat Willie asks, well, I think that was the WCW mascot, wasn't it? Anyway. Tommy, how was Lex Luger to work with when you had your series of matches with him in 1989, both in the ring, and how was he to deal with outside the ring?
You know, I mean, Lex, a lot of people didn't get along with Lex. You know, we had some good matches together. I mean, so he was different to work with. I mean, he was a big old boy, so he was different to work with. But as far as, I mean, he was always nice to me. I mean, I've heard people say this and that, whatever. All you can do is you treat people how you like to be treated, and it's a good day. And he always treated me nice, and I always treated him nice. And I'm thinking, you know, he respected the business too, because he went out there. I mean, he could have waffled me up, whatever, and we went out there and we had good matches. I mean, we'd go 15, 20, 25 minutes, and we had some good matches, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was some of Luger's better matches in that era, to be honest.
I actually thought they were too. And one of my interactions with Luger, you're fixing to laugh, Gene. Myself and Jack Victory, when Jack and Dave Sheldon, Angel of Death, was the Russian Assassins. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dave quit. It was Sheldon when it's Dave something. Wasn't it Sheldon? Wasn't his last name? You know, the
Sheldon.
ball.
Yeah, Dave.
He worked
Sheldon.
as a well, he worked as Angel of Death before that, right?
Right.
So anyway, he quit. So they said, well, we got to have a partner for Jack. So on the loop, they put me as Jack's partner. And in like Baltimore, of all places, me and Jack are working against the dynamic dudes, Shane and Johnny. And so we get done with the match, and Lex walks up to me and Jack like he's the booker, and he said, well, I think if y'all would have done this and would have done that, that would have been better. And I said, well, coming from someone like you, Lex, we'll try to really do something different next time. The funny thing, Dick Murdoch was sitting beside me, and he died laughing. That fucking Lex got mad. But I mean, but Lex wasn't the greatest worker, so I mean, he wasn't really one to be giving up. And like I said, him and Tommy had great matches, and he had his style matches with. I mean, Tommy could work and make anybody look good, but you had to be able to work to make Lex look good because Lex wasn't a good worker. I mean, and maybe wouldn't nobody else say that but me. But I mean, he drew some money. They put him in spots to draw money, and I think he drew a little bit. He didn't draw near as much as he probably should have as the spot that he was in.
No, I don't think anybody would debate you on that, Doug. I think that's kind of been the consensus over the years. And you know, at that point that you're describing, Lex probably would have been in the business 3-4 years tops. And he's a guy that he wasn't a fan. He didn't watch wrestling much before he got in, and so, you know, to him to be handing out advice to guys like you and Jack is just absurd. I'm glad Dick Murdoch was there to witness that.
Well, he kind of thought he was all of that box of chocolates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, I got along with him, but I know there's a lot more that didn't get along with him than did.
Exactly.
But I mean, I wish him the best, you know, in life and everything. I didn't mean to go no tearing. It wasn't a knocking thing. It's just a kind of a funny story that I thought, now here this guy is, and you know, bless his heart, he had a body, $1 million body, and everything. But that mind, I ain't sure about, especially when he was in that cage match with Bruce Brody that he jumped out of.
Yeah, by most accounts, Lex was tough to deal with back in those days. Pretty much anybody that dealt with him will tell you that. But most people do say that he's become a lot more humble in recent years. Lord knows he's been through you know, a multitude of health problems and different things, and they say he's a much different human being now than he was.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I wish him the best. I wish everybody the best. I mean, I want all the guys to be doing good and everything. But then see the thing too with that, and this goes a little bit off topic, Gene, but the dynamic, those people laugh, say, oh, that's an awful gimmick. What people didn't realize was what that gimmick was supposed to turn into. Eddie was the one that give them that gimmick, but the gimmick, what it was going to be before Eddie left, he thought it was two young, good-looking guys, but what he wanted to wind up being was heels, and he thought people would hate them then, and then use the skateboards like the screw people with, hit them over the head with them and everything, and I think that would have really got over, and because people hated them kind of anyway. Yeah. So as heels, they would have been great, but Eddie wound up leaving and wasn't there, so that never happened.
You know, it's funny. It seemed like Eddie was very in tune with like the Philadelphia fans' mindset, because they caught on as heels in Philly. Like, I hear all these stories, like when WCW would travel to Philly, even in the era where they were supposed to be baby faces, they got that exact reaction that Eddie had intended for them years down the line. And so it kind of shows you that if Eddie got the chance to let that play out, that definitely would have worked. They would have got over his heels if he'd have just got a chance to get there.
And I might have said that to you before, but I ain't never really said that to anybody else. I don't know if I said it to you, but
no.
But I mean, that was the goal, and it would have worked. I mean, people don't know that.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that's very interesting to hear. I'm glad you told us that. So,
and you're gonna laugh. I just was on the phone the other day with Shane for the first time. I talked to him in probably 4 years or something. And my goodness, I laughed, but he wanted to ask me a question about Todd Gordon lying. I laughed. I said, I said, lying about what? And he said, he wrote a book and he put something in there. He said, and I know it's not the truth because you was in the room, I was in the room, Eddie was in the room, and he named one more person, and then Todd Gordon come in the room for a minute, and he asked me what happened, and I told him what happened, and he said, see, I told him the other day he was lying. I said, you did? Yeah. I said, well, what? And after he told me, I said, well, you was right. It didn't happen like he said. I said, but there's one thing, Shane. A guy told me this a long time ago. He wrote it in his book, Todd Gordon did. I said, it's his book, so I guess he can write it however he wants.
I can it any way I want to.
Yep.
But it was putting to put himself over and like say what he was doing was right between him and Eddie was what it was. And Shane was saying he was wrong, and right. Shane was saying right. But then I made a mistake and said something about politics, and I didn't get to talk for 40 minutes. Shane went on a tear.
That checks out for sure. Yeah, we'll talk some more about the dynamic dudes in the future, I'm sure. At the very least, we'll talk some more about Shane Douglas. But
that Johnny was something too now.
Oh, now who would have thought back when he was carrying a skateboard in the ring with Shane Douglas that one day he'd be involved in a scandal alongside Vince McMahon? You know, he went a lot farther than any of us thought he would, I believe.
Hey, now don't you be getting no heat on our boy now.
Oh, I didn't say it was true. I just said it was a scandal. It doesn't mean it's true, but wow, that's another podcast for another day, guys. We'll keep this moving.
Hey, you holler at Johnny. We'll get off here and ask me he won't be on here next week.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he would love it. I'm sure he's doing a lot of podcasts these days.
Hey, I'm sure his lawyers done said, buddy, don't you be on stuff.
No, don't you tell anybody good morning for the next year.
Yeah.
So we got another WCW related question. This one's for Doug. Danny Williams asks, Doug, I recently watched a YouTube video of a WCW match you had against Rapmaster PN News. There's a lot of different opinions out there on Mr. News, both on his in-ring skills and his out-of-the-ring attitude. How were your dealings with the Rapmaster?
I met him in Germany the first time I ever met him, Gene, and he was over there for Auto One. Yeah. And so I just met him, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. But I mean, he was fine. I mean, the gimmick that he had, the rapper thing, it was just I mean, I think it got over a little bit and everything. But as far as you know, he was a little bit limited, which I've never said I was the greatest worker or nothing, but he was a little bit limited. But I mean, for his little stuff that he done, I think it kind of got over. But he had a ton of heat with the boys. Now I'm not sure what, you know, I'd heard 2 or 3 different reasons why, but I mean, I know a lot of the boys didn't care for him a whole lot. But me, I didn't have a problem with it.
See, in Georgia,
yeah,
PNU,
yeah, Paul. Well, what's his name? Paul.
Paul New, N-E-U.
Paul, yeah, and but I mean, no, I was fine with him and everything, but there was some stuff come up missing a few times.
Yeah, he didn't stay in Georgia very long. I mean, he was there for a minute, and he was gone.
Yeah, that was. But like I said, I mean, as far as for his gimmick and what they wanted to do, I thought he'd done that all right and everything. But like I said, when I was there, he had a ton of heat with the boys, and like I said, and I'm not saying he done anything or he didn't, but some stuff come up missing about a half a dozen times, and he seemed to be around that stuff.
Right. You know, he later ended up in ECW. Were you in ECW around the time he came in there, Tommy?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay.
I thought he was Tommy's partner.
That's the only time I had any dealings with him was when he was in Georgia. Then, like I said, and his gimmick, like Doug said, I mean, people love the gimmick, but he just, for some reason, he didn't stay very long.
They called him, Gene, you probably know this, they called him Cannonball something.
Grizzly.
What was it?
Grizzly. Cannonball Grizzly.
Okay, yeah, that's what they called him over there.
Well, you know, he worked a lot in Portland before he had that run in WCW. I'm sure Lynn Denton dealt with him up there quite a bit.
Well, I wish I knew that. I'd asked Lynn last night before he hit me 10 times in the ear hard.
Yeah, if we'd asked this question yesterday, you would have known to ask him last night. So
Hey, that dang Lynn Denton, I'm going to have to, next time we get him back on the show, I'm going to ask him, tell him, he must have been one of them NWA world champions too, like Tommy. He still was fighting me last time.
I was going to say, the way Dougie said that, the way Dougie was telling me he hit him, I thought he owed him money or something.
Yeah, I think I paid him back for babysitting me when I was young.
yeah, I mean, I guess there's some hard feelings that you went on the podcast and talked about him keeping the room too cold. He's hot about it.
There you go. You ain't kidding. Then Tommy got him hot and took him some tights over there and told him myself to put them on. That probably didn't help nothing.
Oh. Brad Reed asks, not accounting for your personal experiences there, whether they were bad or good, just speaking in general terms, do you feel that ECW had a positive or negative influence on the business overall in the long term?
I think ECW, that was a different type cat. I mean, like up north, them people loved it. I mean, like, like on the pro, I have a hard time saying damn, or used to if you said damn, they chew you out or get you get in trouble. When I first went up to ECW, I mean, it was MF this and MF that, but of course, there'd be kids out there knee high saying the same stuff back at you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think when they came to the South, I think that's what hurt them, is because the South's like a Bible Belt. I think the people love the cracking the chairs and all of that stuff, but I think MF this and MF that, I don't think that got over in the South. I think it really hurt them in the South. Where up north, it's different up there.
Right.
Well, you go back, and I don't mean this, Gene, but they would say it. The fans would say, "Oh, we're smart marks."
Yeah.
They would say that to us, and down south it was none of that. They was wrestling fans and everything, and I think it was it. But as far as having a negative, I don't think so much a negative, because here's the thing, Gene. Now, they tried to go a little further, but I laughed because they'd say, all the guys from up north said, "Oh, we ain't going to do all that Southern crap. We ain't doing that Southern crap." And then every angle they done was stuff that had been done in Memphis. And that's what I kind of got tickled about. And when it started ECW, when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, which turned into Extreme Championship Wrestling, Eddie was the booker.
Right.
Well, you know what I called it? I called it ECW. I called it Memphis North. And
that's perfect.
And Eddie asked me, they said, "What?" And I said, "It's just Memphis North, ECW, Memphis North." I said, "That's all it is." I said, "We're doing the same stuff, and they love it." I said, and they always said, "Oh, we ain't never going to do none of that Southern shit." And everything, but I mean, it was the angles. If you look at angles, but I mean, the difference is, like Tommy was talking about the profanity. We didn't do the profanity down here in Memphis or nothing, but still, like Tommy was talking about the chair shots, table shots, all that. The first that had been done was down here in Memphis. I mean, look back at the different things and see the similarity without the profanity. If you don't see what I'm saying,
that's it. And that's like when we went up there and was doing the FBI thing. Made it, everybody cracking chairs. And, I mean, somebody goes to throw a chair at me, I'm going to throw my arms up, man. They just root in and say, "Hit me," and get mad if you didn't bend it. Well, Guido and Tracy and me, we started doing something, because that was the main events, and that's fine. So we started doing some in Tennessee high spots. Mm-hmm. And one night, Paul Heyman come in the dressing room, and he said, "From now on, no more Tennessee high spot," because all the other guys had started, they seen the people popping, and they started doing them too, and it was taken away from just busting chairs and shit. So, anyway, we had to quit doing the Tennessee high spot.
Here's the thing with the whole thing. I mean, Gene, look, yeah, you can go ahead and keep your hands. I ain't saying that. I kept my hands down a lot down here in the South when we do chair stuff and everything. But here's the thing. They didn't have to work but about 2 or 3 times a month, so it didn't matter if they got hit in the head a dozen times with the chair as hard as they could hit each other. they had the rest of the month to heal up. Well, we worked every freaking night.
Right.
And here's the thing, Gene. This is what kills me. I mean, it goes back to working and psychology and stuff. Well, shit, you can go out there and kill each other when you could go out there and work. If you knew how to work and make it look like you was killing each other, or you just going to go out there and kill each other like they did and have a career that's about a quarter, if that, of what you'd have if you was working with one another.
Oh, yeah. To me, I think where things went astray, and once like Eddie wasn't involved and other people took over the booking, I think the part they missed is like Memphis cards in the 80s and when all this stuff was going on that they based it on, and all through the years of Memphis, you built to that. You didn't have chairs and brawls. They weren't fighting the concession stand in the second match. You built to that.
Yeah.
And that was my problem with ECW is like, you've seen everything that could happen to a person by the second and third match. By the time you get to the main event, it all just felt redundant. It's like, what's left to do? I mean, you've done everything but shoot this guy.
And then, what about the next show?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up and coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
But I mean, I'm not, and we say this, but I'm not knocking it. Everybody's got their own glitch, and I'm fine with it, and everybody do good. I'm glad they done good. I'm glad Tommy made some money up there in his run. I'm glad the other guys did. I'm just saying, I think it would have been a little easier if it could have been done a little different. And I ain't saying it had to be done. I'm just saying work-wise a little different. And like you're saying, as far as match-wise, and you said second match. Shit, somebody showed me a tape one time, and the first match started right off. Somebody hitting somebody with the head so hard with a chair it looked like it killed them.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at some of the guys like Doug, you're saying, I mean, they beat the daylights out of each other, and they get a 3 or 4 or 5 year run. But now they can't hardly walk because their bodies are all beat up, battered up.
And you know what, the guys I love to this day is Sabu, and bless his heart, he give his soul to them and everything. And I mean, they wouldn't if he needed a nickel, they wouldn't give it to him today.
Right, and that's Yeah, that's sad. And I can say, as a fan in the moment, I loved ECW. I absolutely loved it. You didn't know what was going to happen next. It was exciting. But just looking back now, then you look at it as like, well, there was no way this was sustainable. Because like you said, you can't keep topping it. So eventually you got to go back to storylines. You got to go back to, psychology. And they moved so far away from it, you really couldn't circle back to it. But I do want to say one thing before we move on, and I know we'll talk about this in the future, but for ECW fans out there, before New Jack ever dove out of a balcony, a guy named the Dark Patriot dove out of that crow's nest there at the ECW arena. That would be one of the first times that happened, didn't it, Doug?
That was the first time that happened, Gene. Most people don't know that, but we was in the building one day. Me and Eddie got there, and we was going over, getting ready with the TV guys to go over. Me and him walked out to the ring, and I looked up at the thing at that balcony deal, and I said, "That's where they do commentary, right?" And Eddie said, "Yeah." And I said, "Man," I said, the different things, and just I was trying to think of something different, and I said, "You know what?" I said, "I might take this JT up there and me punch him a few times." I said, "Which I'll have to ask him about this." I said, "I'm sure he's going to say no." I said, "I could let him get him hanging from there with his feet down. You figure that'd be another 6 foot." So I said, "That wouldn't be about a 13-foot fall for him." And Eddie said, "Well, then what would you do if you get him to do that?" I said, "I'll stand up on it and jump off." Eddie said, "You ain't going to jump off that. That's 20 foot. And I said, "Well," I said, "I think I'm going to talk to him about it." And I never said nothing else to Eddie about it. And when we was going over with the camera guys, the TV guys, Eddie told him just to follow me. And he didn't say what was going to happen, and which I wasn't sure at that point what was going to happen. And I thought worst case scenario, which I told Eddie, I said, "The only thing, I can't go up there and then come back down." Right. I said, "If I go up there, I got to jump." And he just shook his head like I was crazy. He didn't think I guess he's right. I probably wasn't crazy. But anyway, I was thinking, because what we was building for was wind up a scaffold match and something else, but what Eddie told me he wound up wanting us to do. And I said, "Well, we got to do something wild and crazy." So I thought of that, and I got that JT to go along with it, and got him hanging over, and then he fell off, and then I climbed up on the commentator's table, and it looked like you're about, for me looking down there, it's like you're like 25, 26 foot up and everything. And then when I thought, the first thought when I stood up and I looked down, I thought, "Oh, shit." And I thought, there ain't no climbing back down. I thought, let's go. And then I just jumped out. And when I hit, the main thing I knew I had to do was have my knees bent, because I didn't want to blow my knees out. Yeah. And still my right knee hit first, and Eddie was out there with me. And when I hit and I started crawling away and I went to get up, my right knee kind of felt, it didn't feel like I tore nothing. It just felt, it didn't feel right. And I got up, and then I crawled up and longer, then I got up and I limped back, and I saw a tape the other day, and Eddie grabbed the back of my tights like to pull me up, and then I rode back in the ring. But yeah, that was the first time that ever happened. Anybody ever dove off of that crow's nest or whatever they call it.
Now, I know you talked him into it, but what was JT's initial reaction when you bring this up?
He looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah, I've been beating that drum for years. Anytime people would be around me, I'm like, "Man, it was crazy when New Jack used to jump on them balconies." I'm like, "Yeah, but Doug Gilbert was the first one to do it." And they were like, "Really?" I'm like, "Look it up. It's true."
Yeah, nobody ever said that about that, which that's the whole deal. The main thing was they didn't want nothing about when ECW started. They just wanted it about from that time period when they started doing all the crazy stuff. And which, like I said, it wasn't, when Eddie booked it, it was the, the Texas Death matches and the chain matches and, gimmick matches and stuff like that, but it wasn't every one of them. It was like angle-wise matches to build up to that.
Oh, yeah, the revisionist history that they go back and tell on DVDs and in, the later years, you completely leave out Eddie's contribution, and it's just like, Well, there was this struggling promotion in Philadelphia, and this genius Paul Heyman came along, and he saved the day, and he created hardcore wrestling, and he thought of all this stuff. We don't mention Memphis, we don't mention Eddie.
And here's the deal: it wasn't struggling. I mean, it was selling out before Eddie left. So I mean, struggling. I don't know where they get that part of it unless they would meant they wasn't running every night. But they never run it every night when it was extreme. It was on the weekends. I mean, it was. That's what I'm saying. The guys could. I mean, they thought killing themselves. Well, we're all right killing ourselves because we can heal up over the week. But I mean, I never really understood that logic.
I think it's just, they just tell it that way because it makes Paul Heyman look even better. That he brought it from supposedly nothing, even though that's not the case. But it makes for a better story. And I'm not knocking Paul Heyman when I say that. I mean, Paul Heyman is a smart guy, and he did contribute a lot to the business. But I think the ECW story has been twisted and shaped into something different than what it actually was. And I don't think that will change. It's just going to get. It's going to get more like that as the years go by and people keep retelling the version they saw on DVDs and such. It just becomes a fact to them.
Oh, yeah, and that's cool. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. I mean, but I'll say this, and, people think I dislike Paul. I don't dislike Paul. I dislike a few things Paul has done, but Paul has got a good mind for business, and he created a lot of good gimmicks up there and come up with them. And I mean, that's like I said, I don't dislike Paul.
He brought us the Big Don, and
now I punched him a time or two. I must dislike him at that point.
Well, I mean, even people that love him and people that credit their whole career to him at different times have hated his guts, and he's owed them money or he's screwed them over. Even his biggest fans will tell you that they've had their moments.
Hey, I thought Tommy Dreamer loved him, and hell, what he say, he's gonna shoot him at a WrestleMania or something.
Exactly.
He never heard no shit like that. Is that right?
Yes. At one point, Tommy Dreamer says he was going to go and shoot Paul Heyman and then shoot himself or something. Some crazy story.
On a pay-per-view,
yes.
Right, Gene?
Is that right? I ain't never heard that.
Vince would have loved it. He'd have probably replayed it the next day.
Hey, people said that. The people would have said that was a work.
They would still be debating it to this day. That's a work. Oh, they're still alive. They're off on an island somewhere.
Hey, if it's Memphis TV, Jimmy Hart would have said it, brought him right back at the next segment.
They both come back with new gimmicks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so Rodney Wise asks, Tommy, Doug spoke a bit about Joe Pedicino during the Global Wrestling Federation episode of this podcast. Would you care to share your experiences working with Joe and talk a little bit about the SCW promotion in Georgia in the late 80s?
Well, Joe Pedicino, I mean, he was a smart man because he didn't know nothing about wrestling. Then he put that TV show together and got everybody's tapes and had the 8-hour show. He was good at what he did. I don't know if I'm a big Joe Pedicino fan, but there again, he was always nice to me. I mean, I ain't got nothing against him. Sometimes I look at the business where a lot of people get in on, he didn't know nothing about the wrestling business, but yet here he comes and he's a smart businessman and he takes and makes money off of, the guys who wrestle and never really give nothing back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like I told you, I thought a lot of Joe. Joe was really good to Eddie, really good to me. And I think if you got to know Joe, I think if Tommy went out and sat down with him like we did and had dinner with him and listened, but he was like Tommy said, he was a smart business guy, and that's what me and Eddie would listen to. His ideas, and his ideas was to make himself money, but to make us money also. So, I mean, I respected that. And like I said, when he called that time and said he had he thought he had the Prince or whatever it was.
Nigerian millionaire, whatever it was.
$500 million or something like that he was going to start that global with. And, I mean, anybody would have a brain. And if that would have worked out, I mean, everybody would have said Eddie was a genius for leaving WCW when he did. But it didn't work out, and people didn't know why he left at that point, why he was still getting paid under contract.
Right. So this is an interesting question here, guys. I've always kind of wondered this myself, but a gentleman who calls himself Memphis Matty asks, back in the day, hair versus hair matches were big in the territories, especially in Memphis. Can you talk a little bit about how early in a feud the booker or promoter would come to you about potentially getting your head shaved, and is it true you would get a good bonus for agreeing to have this done? And then there's a bonus question, but we'll save that till after you guys answer.
I think all the bookers, and we'll let Tommy answer this after I do, all the bookers and promoters, as far as you would look at the angles, and as your angle went on and you seen it drawing money, and if it kept getting hotter as it went and it built up, and it actually built up to that where you could draw a sellout or a near sellout or something with it, then they would look at that as the angle went, and if it wound up getting hotter as it went, then it would start being, and like when you was running out of different gimmick stuff to do, if you was willing to do it, they might say it to you. I mean, maybe halfway through the angle or something. What about if we get it at the end or 3/4 of the way through it? What if would y'all be interested in this? And yes, you would get more money and everything. But now I'll let Tommy answer. But to me, that was the way it was brought to me. And actually, I was in about 5 or 6 hair matches, so I should.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you do the build up. You have your Texas Death matches. I mean, and if it was drawn and it built up, I was in a few myself, and they come to you, especially like that. Well, like the deal with Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler. I mean, people knew, they was either going to get their money back or somebody was going to get their head, or Lawler was going to get his head shaved. So that was just a big, because nobody thought Lawler would cut his hair, and nobody definitely thought Austin Idol would cut his either. And that was what was so cool about that angle, was me hiding under the ring, And that's probably about one of the first times they ever put the cage on the floor.
Right.
And that was so I out there and get up under the ring and hide till my time to come out. And, the night I come out, there was more heat. They had to call extra police in because people didn't want Dollar to get his head shaved. And that was a big build-up, blow-off match. And a lot of times, even out of there, you'd go in more.
Right, and then that started that right over again.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's probably like the biggest hair match in history, honestly, at least in the South. And I don't know when, and you can speak to this for sure, Tommy, you was involved. That was probably the hottest angle, like the most heat that anything had drawn in Memphis in a long time, as far as like the crowd like ready to rush the cage and get after you guys, right?
Oh yeah, I'd seen guys, like when I used to go when I was a kid, and I see guys the old school hills. They go out and they get heat. And people want to just kill them, and then we did that deal. And I didn't realize it was that kind of heat. They was trying to climb the cage to get in and help Lawler. It was, that heat was intense. We was in the ring for 30 minutes before we get extra police to get us to the back. The people did. They wanted to kill us.
For the people who don't know, like, tell people how long you spent under that ring, Tommy.
Shoot, I was under there. I got there about 4 or 5 o'clock before security or anybody was there. Randy West did the filming back then. He had his TV card and he set his cameras up. I was under a tarp under it. He pushed me down the ring. I crawled out. It had me a little air mattress and a 6-pack of beer. And shoot, I was probably, the main event don't go on to probably 10:30 that night. So I was under there a good 4, 5, 6 hours.
That's one of the classic angles of all time. Because, nowadays, when they would do stuff like that in recent years, they would roll somebody out there and let them get under the ring right before the match started or something. Like, nobody's spending that many hours under the ring. That's wild. Doug, would you want to sit under the ring for 6 or 7 hours?
No, I sure wouldn't. But if I would have wound up making the money that Tommy did off that angle, I'd sit under there for Wildfire, probably.
Absolutely. So here's the bonus question. I'm going to be interested to hear you guys answer this. Memphis Matty come up with a pretty good question here. It says, bonus question. Do you think for the right amount of money, either one of your wives would have agreed to have their head shaved like Beverly Dundee did against Lawler back in the day?
I don't think mine.
I don't think mine would, just the aspect of being on TV and just being out of the limelight. She likes more like not being in. She thinks that's more of our job than hers, and she's right.
Yeah.
And that's the way Terry would think too. Tommy's wife, I think.
Oh yeah, I haven't been around either one of your wives a whole lot, but the little impression I've gotten didn't seem like they would be they'd be rushing out there on TV to get their head shaved. So I kind of expected an answer, but then again, you know, I've heard it said that those two haircuts, that Bill's haircut and Beverly's haircut, you know, help pay for their first house. So I don't know. People can be persuaded, I guess, if the money's right. So I figured we'd let him ask that question.
Hey, it might happen. It damn sure didn't pay for no private school for the son.
They should have been saving that for attorney money down the line, apparently. But
there you go. I just playing.
Nah, it's just it's all in fun.
Hey, Gene, I think Jamie's still in ninth grade.
I don't know what grade he's in. I don't know. He ain't grown up a whole lot anyway.
Oh well. We better move on before we get us a new PG-13 Tommy and Doug match book somewhere now.
That'll work. I believe me and Tommy still whoop them.
I mean, hey, USWA, man, I mean, you take Jamie and Wolfie, I mean, we had a good run with them, you know, on that last leg of USWA.
Hey, we was laughing last night in the room. Something come up about that. Tommy said, you realize that was one of the last money drawing angles there? And it was, Gene.
Yeah, I've heard that said quite a bit, that was the last money drawing angles that took place in the Memphis territory. And
Tommy said, who would have thought that?
and you know, really, they were one of the last teams to get made in that territory. I mean, when you look past that and all the incarnations of Memphis the next several years, nobody really broke out to become big stars after that.
Well, you know why, don't you?
Let's hear
because
it.
Because your damn buddy Randy Hills, which I like Randy Hills too, don't get me wrong, but if it wasn't for Randy Hills, there wouldn't been no PG-13.
No, sir, sure would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those guys will tell you that, too. Absolutely.
Randy believed what nobody else did.
One last question here, and this one should be fun. We're almost out of time, but the Canadian Destroyer, who asked us a question last week, he sent this one in as well. He said, I've seen videos on YouTube of both of you guys working scaffold matches in your career. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like working those types of matches? Did they pay better than a normal match? And why did it take promoters so long to realize that scaffold matches were better in theory than they were in execution in most cases?
Well, I think the scaffold match is just the fear, the height, and the people. I mean, the people in their hearts, most people are scared of height. And when they look at it and showed pictures of what it was going to be, and you was going to be so many feet in the air, and that, you couldn't get away from one another, like the heels basically couldn't run from the baby faces, and
somebody was going to fall off.
Yeah, somebody was going to fall off, and more than likely they was going to hurt something and everything. But like you said, in reality, it wasn't going to be the best match or anything that you'd ever saw, by no means. But I think it was just like, as far as the gimmick, like your Texas Deads, your chain matches, like I said, you're different. Your Falls Count Anywhere, it was just another gimmick, but it was one of those where you could picture it and show that scaffold and show it 20 foot up in the air and have that fear, come into kind of everybody thinking, damn, I wouldn't want to be up on those scaffold. Dang, we got these two guys, and I hate this one guy, and I love this one guy, and I want to see him throw this guy that I hate off of it, and that was their chance. And the promoters, as far as, like you said, I mean, they'd go to it, every once in a blue moon, but I mean, it would, and that's what would make it a big deal.
Yeah, I was in a couple of them, and hey, if you watch my wrestling over the years, I never did get past the second rope as far as getting on the ropes, because I don't clean the gutters at the house. You know, they put me and Austin in them scaffold matches. It didn't even ask me. I don't know if they probably asked Austin, but they didn't even ask me. And I told them.
Hey, they probably didn't ask him.
They probably didn't. But anyway, we was in that one in Memphis. When we was in that one in Memphis, that ring set 4 or 5 foot off the ground. Then that scaffold was 20 foot over the ring. I climbed up there and looked. You could see the top row of the seats. I was so high up on that thing. I never did even stand up. I told him, I said, I was scared to death. Yeah,
that looked like one of the highest scaffolds they ever had. I mean, I remember watching that movie, and I'm like, God, this looks taller than they usually do.
Hey, that looked like 30 or 35 foot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like it's a wonder Doug was talking about jumping off that stage at ECW off that thing. It's a wonder he didn't break his ankle. And that's all I could picture was falling off there. And I think Cornette or somebody that fell off and broke their arm or that leg or something. Anyway, before that.
Shame he didn't break his mouth.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. But anyway, I scared them. Me and Austin Island both. And people probably mad. We climbed about halfway down before we fell down. I wasn't about to fall off from the top. But people did, and I think it's just like Doug said, too, though. It was just that fear factor of people thinking, are they that stupid? Somebody's going to get hurt. And that was it. I mean, and most of the times in that situation, you've done all you could do anyway. So that was just, instead of a cage, it was a scaffold match, you know.
Well, I can remember as a kid seeing those promos where the Road Warriors were throwing the watermelons off the scaffold and then busting on the ground, and me thinking, oh, my God, I've got to see this. Somebody's going to die.
And then, like you were talking about the ECW stuff a while ago, Gene, I had wound up a scaffold match with that JT. It was all the way at the roof. Like, I could hang on to the water pipes and stuff. I had to duck my head not to hit the water pipes and shit.
Oh,
but, I mean, how it was. But then... And it had got, and like I said, the fans were so different up there. After I threw him off, and they wanted me to jump off on him, and I started, and I thought, no, the best thing to do, and I started to jump off on him, and I thought, no, the greatest heat will be not jumping off on him. And that got them so hot. And then when I climbed down, I went to him, and they were still telling me, and I was the heel for me to get him and stuff. And like I bailed him a few more times, and I think I actually slammed him through a table, but that was. The fans were so different up there than they are, down here, down south.
So we talked about, Heyman earlier, and, we talked about the feud with you guys against Jerry, you and Austin Idol against Jerry Lawler, Tommy. There's a famous story that goes around that come the night of that scaffold match that Heyman absolutely refused to go up the scaffold because it kind of become a known thing. Like you said, Cornette went off of it in, Starrcade 86 and everything. And that Paul Heyman refused to go up the scaffold, and Lawler ended up breaking his jaw.
Hey, now that bogus ass Paul, Lawler didn't break his jaw. He wound up going up about 6. He went up as far as the top rope, and then took a bump like off the top rope, and acted like he hurt his knee like Cornette. That's where his bogus ass. I mean, and I don't guess I'll even say that, but I thought I've heard over the years that same crap that you said, Gene. But that's bless his heart. He wants to be the same thing, kind of like, I don't even like to say his name, but they two peas in a pod together.
That's why I wanted to bring it up, because that story has been told time and time again. So that's what I wanted you guys to be able to clear that up. So that's absolutely perfect.
They didn't. Nobody get hurt during that match, right, except maybe somebody's feet.
What's funny is it's always been said over the years that the one guy who would go up on these scaffold matches with no fear and run around and do anything was Bill Dundee, because he was a freaking trapeze artist or whatever. But I don't think Dundee ever lost one. Did Dundee ever go off of one of them?
Did he ever go off of one?
Yeah, I mean, he was always the baby face, so normally, it's the heels that lost. I don't think he ever had to take the bump off.
No, I think while I was growing up, I seen him in like 4 or 5 different ones. He always went up, but he'd always run around them.
He'd be up there. That's another. I never stood up. Because when we was in that with me and Idol against him and Lawler, he was up there bouncing. That thing was swaying. Oh, I was scared.
Hey, I heard Lawler one time say, he wasn't the thrillest in the world about it, but he had to do it because Bill was.
Oh, yeah.
Big round.
I mean, that match was in 1987. I can go back and watch it today and still be nervous for Bill while I'm watching. Oh, God, Bill. Oh, wait a minute. He would swear he's just going to run off the side of it. He just has no regard at all. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and that damn Lynn Denton last night, he done come up to me, want me to do some kind of stuff with him like him and Ricky Morton did. I told Tommy, I said, he lost his mind. And but you laughed at Lynn. He was funny, and I mean, hell, he still worked just like he used to.
Well, that's awesome. I would have liked to have seen that match. Like you said on the last show, I'm gonna have to take a road trip with you guys.
Me and you was talking about his partner, man. His partner, he's a good worker.
Yeah, he was. I mean, yeah, the match was good. People
with
was
it.
with it. I mean,
You can't
Well,
ask
that's
for
good.
no more than that.
I mean, I'm sure it was hard to top it once Action Mike Jackson was out there, but you guys sound like you pulled it off.
Well, I'll say it was hard to get a word in the back, a word in with Action Mike there.
Well,
He was catching Tommy up over the last 30 years. Hey, he's the real champion.
for
he got the
Real belt.
That's what he told them boys.
all these bogus champions in wrestling, he's the real deal. He's a legitimate real champion. I'm glad you guys got the rub from him last night. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all took some notes back there.
I listened.
Mr. Tommy taught you well. Mr. Tommy Gilbert taught you to keep your mouth closed and your ears open.
I listened and I laughed.
That's it. When he's in the building, you're going to be entertained one way or the other, whether it's the way you intended or not. But, well, guys, we did it again. We have completed another episode of Q&A, of answering questions from the listeners. And again, folks, keep those questions coming. This ain't going to be the last time.
Hey, G, we need people to get out there and put the reviews out and on Dangerous Conversations with Doug and Tommy and get them reviews coming in.
Absolutely. Go on there, rate us, review us, and we're going to start going through and randomly choosing people to win some prizes. Like I say, we're going to have some T-shirts, we'll have some decals, and different things.
Hey, Tommy said don't rate him R, though.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to be out here with you and Doug. But like I said, man, rate us, review us, love us. Y'all, come on. A lot of more questions, answers. Call in with your questions.
That's right. Keep them coming. You keep asking them. These guys are going to keep answering them. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all the great stories and conversations that we're going to have right here on this show. So, that being said, Doug, take us home like you always do.
Hey, man. Gee, thanks for everything. Me and Tommy, peace. We're out.
This way right now, Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich. Some of the battles that have gone on. These guys have the USWA tag team titles around their waist. Doug Gilbert.
We've been in some battles, haven't we, Dave Brown?
Yeah, you have, no doubt.
You know what, Dave Brown? The battles that we have endured, we have always come out champions. And what I want to be is a champion. Dave Brown, Tommy Rich can tell you, I think all these people over here can tell you, I love belts. I love belts so much. I love belts more than I do anything else in the world. All I want is belts, belts, belts. Now see what it is, Dave Brown. Around here, things get a little biased every once in a while. Now see, since these people over here seem to like myself and Wildfire Tommy Rich, I mean, you ran through there and see that, right, Dave Brown? You're a smart man, no doubt about that, right? Since they like myself and Tommy Rich now, that Randy Hell, see, you know, he protects PG-13. You know that Jamie Dundee's under one wing, that Wolfie D's on the other. Or better yet, that Wolfie D's in the passenger seat when Randy Hells is driving so he can be protected. But boys, we won't go any further than that because like you just saw, things just about did get out of hand. But like I told Wildfire Tommy Rich, it's better to let bygones be bygones and us remain the USWA Tag Team Champions. Right, Tommy?
What? You know what?
You know, the bottom line is, when Dangerous Doug and myself get together, when we're bad, we're real bad. And when we're good, we're real good. You know, a sad thing happened. Jamie Dundee thinks I hit him on purpose. Well, in the heat of the thing, Dangerous Doug and myself, for all these people, we come in here for one reason. That's to get the people behind us and wrestle anybody that got in the way. And ain't nobody stopping us. You know, Jamie Dundee, Wolfie D, y'all are tough. We had a run-in a long time ago. It didn't do you no good then. And with all these people behind us, it ain't going to do them no good now.
Well,
It's just about a stinking nut. Hey,
Tracy.
give me that microphone. What's this stuff, man? We sat back there, hey, look at me, and we watch a 5-minute video of y'all and PG-13, Wolfie D, JC Ice, Tommy Rich, Doug Gilbert. Everybody forgot about the greatest team that's ever been, and that's the Thugs. Hey, we're going through y'all, we're going through PG-13, and we're going through the Rock and Roll Express, and then we're going to whip the pop guns. You guys are finished, man. We're sick of all of you.
Well, you got to get through Rock and Roll Express, and here are a couple of guys who are going to be looking at y'all.
Hold up just a second. We were the baddest champions to ever walk around here. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. We're the guys that need to be holding those belts. And you need to give us a shot, Doug Gilbert. The last time we had a run-in with you two, you wound up beat, battered, and bald, didn't you, boy? I don't know nothing about that, Doug Gilbert. You got pretty hurt yourself, and so did he. I don't know what y'all are talking about, man. We are the cats, man. We're the ones that need to have their belts. You know, while we're at it, let's just clear everything up right now, Doug Gilbert. Tommy Wildfire Rich last week, man, 4 guys were beating your brains out all over the building, and JC Ice and Wolfie D come to the aid of Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert once again. And in the heat of the passion, you're right, I did punch you. And it was in the heat of the passion. I didn't know it was you. And if I did know it was you, it wouldn't have happened that way. But then when you came back, you intentionally punched JC Ice. And I believe that. You wasn't big enough to hold the boy that you was holding. He ducked out of your way and I hit you. The way I see it, it was your fault. Don't put your fingers on me again, Red, and get your finger out of my face. You tell your partner to see, Doug, you know. You tell your partner to jump back off his high horse, man. Well, you hold on just one second. I will tell him. Tommy, he did come down to help.
That's right.
That is right? That's right. But it's just like Tommy Rich said, Wolfie D. When he come down, J.C. Ice was holding the man, and he ducked out of the way, and that's the reason Tommy Rich hit you. That's your fault, big boy, because you wasn't big enough to hold him, I think. I'm big enough to hold my own, man. Maybe, Tommy, maybe you're just so stupid you don't know how to aim a punch or something. Can you not punch right or something? You know how stupid we are? Is we're so stupid that we're the USWA Tag Team Champions, and if you've got a problem with that, what you need to do is get that finger out of my face and I'll get out of your face. Get you down.
Well, they're going at each other. All right, bring some more air. Yeah, here comes some folks out to break them up.
Before we get out of here, I just want to take a moment to remind everyone, if you have an upcoming wrestling show, autograph signing, collector show, Comic-Con, or any event or booking that you would like to inquire about the services of Dangerous Doug Gilbert and or Tommy Wildfire Rich, just send us an email at DougGilbertPodcast@Outlook.com, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible to get more information on your event and do the best we can to make that happen. Also, if you are interested in advertising your event, your business, your product to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations, as well as to promote your event, business, or product across all our social media platforms, you can send that inquiry to DougGilbertPodcast@Outlook.com. We would love to work together with you to get that out there to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations. Remember to check out DougGilbertPodcast.com. There you can find links to all things related to this podcast, as well as Doug and Tommy themselves. You'll find a link to the Dangerous Conversations Facebook page and the Dangerous Conversations Twitter, now known as X. And we're always posting content daily, involving the Gilbert family, Tommy Rich, all sorts of things from their career. We got magazine articles, videos, pictures, you name it. We're posting new content every single day. Make sure you follow so you don't miss out on any of that. Plus, you can follow Doug and Tommy's personal Facebook pages on there. Dangerous Doug Gilbert. You can search that on Facebook. You can also search Tommy Wildfire Rich. They both have Facebook pages. And Doug does have an X page as well, and you can follow them there. But if you really want to help support, you can go to the Gilbert Family Pro Wrestling Tees store, which there's a link to there on the DougGilbertPodcast.com. And you can find t-shirts of Doug, Eddie, and their famous father, Tommy Gilbert, as well. Also, Tommy Rich is going to be having some t-shirts coming up very soon. Follow him on Facebook. We'll be talking about him here. But look for some cool new Tommy Wildfire Rich t-shirts coming out soon that you can partake in as well. Also, if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on the platform of your choice. It would really help us in building up the podcast for the future. Plus, it helps us know what you like, what you don't like, where we need to take this podcast moving forward. Also, if you want to see a whole bunch of matches, promos, and angles, a lot of the ones that you're going to hear us talk about on this very podcast, you can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@RetroWrestlingArchive. Of course, it's linked right there at DougGilbertPodcast.com, and you will find a ton of matches featuring Eddie Gilbert, Tommy Gilbert, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Wildfire Rich. There's playlists of all them that feature hundreds of matches of each of them. So make sure you go check that out. And not just of them, there are thousands, literally, at this point, of videos from wrestling from across the territory days, you name it. If we don't have the video uploaded to our channel, we at least have organized you a playlist of just about every territory, every show that's out there. You can find it in one convenient location there on YouTube at the Retro Wrestling Archive. Plus, don't forget, you can find all things related to my popular Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast at uswapodcast.com. And last but certainly not least, we are proud to be a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Go on over to WrestleCopia.com to check out all the great pro wrestling related podcasts and various content that our friend Ray Russell provides you. You'll be glad you did. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, if you know what's good for you.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That's linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, what do you do? Be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down. Wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. You scurry away, glory in their veins. legends breaking chains. In the squared circle they made their name. Podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more.